You're listening to Scorched. A raw, real, and unfiltered podcast about drag racing and motorsports. Hosted by the man willing to burn it all down. And now, the man himself, E3 Extreme's own Damon Steinke.
Welcome, everybody. We are in Rickie's shop this week. And for those of you that don't know, Rickie is obviously unarguably one of the greatest drag racers of any century. I won't say the 21st or 20th, anything like that. But I had the privilege of coming into Rickie's shop today and doing an interview, sit down for the Scorched podcast. Rickie, welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So, where do we want to start? I mean,
That could be a million places.
There's so much shit that we could talk about.
We could talk about the moon shining.
How has everything been going?
Good. It's been a little struggle this year. Rule changes here and there. For me, my main deal is to run NHRA, and luckily the sponsors I have now, SoCal and Capital Chevrolet, and which is Junior Michael, Mark SoCal, and Mark Stockstedt, Steve Vick. They all understand, and Richard Bale, I gotta say him in Texas, but they all understand where I'm coming from, and they understand drag racing, which is great. How the rules go and how the nitrous cars play back and forward with the blowers. So I had a guy, which was Dennis Rafford, called me back in December and committed to me. He said, Rickie, I want to run 2 races, probably 4. But definitely I'll commit to 2 and probably 4 for next year. I said, good, because that's the way it helps me run my program. I mean, I need to bring in revenue to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
So when this rule change come out about the shifter rule, Dennis called me the day it come out, and I knew as soon as I saw the phone ring and his name pop up, I knew what it was. And he said, man, we talked to him, and he said, Rick, I can't do that. He said, I just want to come in, drive, have some fun, leave. I don't have time to go test, and Dennis can drive a pro mod car. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But, if you don't shift these things, every couple of weeks or, 10, 15 races a year, you're not going to be as good as the guy that shifts them all the time.
Yeah.
So he just decided not to do it, and I don't blame him. So that lost me a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. So when you take out of my program that, it kind of got me where I didn't make a couple of the NHRA races, and I went and run PDRL. I've run this series Carolina deal in Darlington. I've won a couple of them races. I'm leading the points down there. So that has helped me with my sponsor to be able to go other places and race and be competitive kind of. And it's all about advertisement, and that's what I'm trying to do for them. So that's helped me a bunch that the sponsor understands what I'm up against. And, supposedly, I'm hearing they're going to make a rule change again for Brainerd. And, they've got to. I know the pro chargers don't like it, but, I didn't like it either when they done it to me 3 out of 4 years.
Yeah.
3 out of 4 years, they changed it on me in 24 hours after the race. They didn't wait 6 months, a year and a half, all that. So, if anybody's got a reason to be mad, it's me, not them. They knew when they come in with a new combo, if you didn't expect to be hit, then you don't have a clue where you're at in this world. You don't even know where you're at. Because in this business, if you come in and going to dominate a class with a new combo, you're going to be hit. And if you do it again, you're going to be hit. That's the whole thing with NHRA and Pro Modified. If they don't keep all these 3 or 4 riders competitive, then you see what's happened. They've done lost car count big time. And hopefully they'll make this rule change, and try to keep getting us, more and more competitive so we can all race, and I know they like to see nitrous cars. There's a lot of nitrous cars out there. So hopefully we get back on track here and we may be at Brainerd if they make enough rule change. If they don't, I'll just show back up in India and finish the season there, you know. So that's kind of where we're at on that part of the issue, you know, about why I hadn't been at some of the races this year. Some people say, oh, he's boycotting, oh, he's mad. Hey, I've been mad a lot of times because
I've
the
seen
rules.
you mad before.
You know? Yeah, and I've been mad a lot of times, but that didn't mean I didn't go to the race. This is my living. The reason I didn't show up to these races was because of money. You know, it's the economical thing. It ain't because I'm mad. You know, a lot of racers stay mad over the rule. But, you know, if you're a racer, you're going to show up. But when you don't have the money to go, then that's when you kind of have to back off. So that's what I had to do. But, you know, Damon, I've supported this NHRA program. There's nobody that has supported this class more than I have. I won the very first expedition race they ever had in Gainesville, Florida, with a brand new Viper. That Viper I had, that was the first race out for it. I went down. It actually was a rain-out race. I had the Corvette sold. I had the Viper. I just got it. I hadn't even tested it when it rained out. So we come home, test it one day, went back the next week, and you can do that with another car when it rained out. I went back the next week and won the race with a brand new race car, you know, down there. So that's how dedicated I am to this stuff and racing. And you know, and I've supported this thing forever. But the reason it's been a bad deal this year, you know, is because of this shifting thing, and I can't rent. So it got me where I had to back off a little bit, you know.
Now, obviously, a lot of people who pay attention to the internet have seen over the last couple of weeks, there was a couple of photos floating around on the internet. Rickie Smith is going to go to a blower car. So, obviously, this will probably reach everybody next Monday. But where do we stand? Because as I'm sitting in the shop right now, obviously I don't see a blower car here. I still see a big old hood scoop right there. So, what's the deal with the blower car? If you could talk about it.
Yeah, I can talk about it. You know, Damon, it's again. I've always been in pro stock or pro mod. Okay, pro mod a long time, and I try to stay where I can afford to race. All right. When this pro mod thing come along in NHRA, that fit my sponsorship and budget, and I've done really good in that. You know, I've won 3 championships since I turned 60 years old over there. Okay, so and I'm still the winningest pro modified driver in NHRA. Period. Still the winningest. So, you know, the reason the blower car we'll talk about, but the turbo car I done it because they just kept letting it kind of dominate. Mm-hmm. You know, I was doing okay, but when Troy and them would mess up, it'd give me a little chance to win, and back and forward. And I just got tired of having to run from behind, so I'd done the turbo thing, and then that turned into a disaster. That thing's got so much electronics on it. Every time we come back, there was a wastegate bad, or this was bad, or that was bad. Well, you can't be a driver tuner like I am and do that, because it ain't nobody me and Chad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm a 2-man team most of the time.
Yep.
Unless I'm renting and I fly guys in. But it's usually just me and Chad, all right? It does all this work. So how can I study or fix the problems on this electronic stuff when Chad's just trying to do the normal maintenance between rounds? I'm trying to fix what's broke on electronics that don't work, and then go in and sit down and look at the computer and make a run call the next run. Well, you just can't do that. There's not enough time between rounds. So that just ended up where it wasn't feasible for me to be a tuner driver on a turbo car. Mm-hmm. So that's the reason that thing kind of went away. Well, I went back to the nitrous car, won a race or 2. Johnson's won a race in my car since. You know, we've Bo Budner damn near won the second time out in one of my cars. He almost won last year.
Yep.
He went to the finals. I had both of my cars in the final at Indy. And we definitely wasn't the quickest car all day. We just maintained, you know, and that's what I try to give people, a car to go down. So the way the rules got between the pro chargers last year, and they didn't hit them at all, didn't do anything, and they outrun us all 5 to 700s. Now the blower guys are bitching which is, I'm kind of sitting back. I'm mad, or I'm disappointed. I don't know as you say I'm mad. I'm disappointed in what's going on and not making some changes. But I'm kind of laughing in another way because the blower guys now are sitting back seeing what Rickie's fought for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Now they're 3 and 500 behind. How you like this, guys? It ain't too fun. You know, when you work this hard and you just let a new combo come out that you don't know what the potential is. So when you see it come out within 2 races, you should hit it.
Absolutely.
If it's out there again, outrun this 4 or 500s, hit it again. What is wrong, what I have asked, what is wrong with a new combination having to qualify 3rd, 4th, or 5th? What is wrong with that? Why have they got to run up front?
Yeah.
When you got blowers and nitrous guys have supported this Pro Modified, whether it's NHR or not, for 20 years. Why are you slapping us all in the face, the way I feel about it, and I know now some of the blower guys are feeling that way. Why are you slapping us in the face for supporting Pro Modified all these years with a new combo? Hit the thing. Don't be scared to hit it. And if they don't like it, then they can go build them up something else. But they're the ones that chose to come out with a new combo. So they shouldn't get mad not one bit, which they get mad when they get, but they shouldn't. They knew when they built this thing that they were going to get hit if it run good. So don't be stupid about it, you know. Just to fess up and say, okay, we're going to come back. We're going to see where we're at again. But that's where the blower car come in. I didn't want to go with a Pro Charger. I had a Pro Charger almost built and this and that, and Bickle and them was changed back and forth. But I just didn't want to tune electronics and all on the turbocharger. Plus, they're just breaking those Pro Chargers right and left. I mean, if you're gonna run for the points, let's say, and go to a national meet, you better have minimum 3 in the trailer, if not 4. But you better have 3, or you may miss a round because they're hurting them pretty good. You know, if you overwind them any at all or something like that, you know, it hurts them. So I figured, man, I can't afford to do that concept. So Todd Teterow, which only lives 30 minutes from me, we've been friends for a long time. We've helped each other back and forth over 35, 40 years. And I went to Todd and asked him, I said, look, if I build a blower car, you help me, because he's not running it. He said, absolutely. We shook hands on it. He built the motor, got the car done. I went and picked it up a week or so ago. And we went to Darlington last Friday and tested. And I made 3 runs from first run right to 330. The next 2 runs, the 8th mile, I had to set up as a screw charger. We run really good. I mean, the track was 142.3 degrees, 91 degrees temp. I mean, it was like 3,000 feet down there, and we run good with the car. The blower was down a little, Todd said. So he said, we need to go back home and figure out why this is down. But for what we done and what we run, I was really, really, really pleased how fast we went. And driving that thing it was what I thought it was. It was exciting. You know, it's badass, them things are.
Yeah.
They make just as much noise inside with your helmet on as they do outside. And I knew that because I drove some 6, 7, 8 years ago overseas. And I enjoyed it. And we come home, and Todd come back over on that Monday. We rolled the car outside, warmed it up. And what we were going to do, we were going back to back his blower with my blower, just on the 2-step, because it was down significantly. Okay, so Todd said we can find out what we want to know right here on the 2-step before we go back to the racetrack. So he brings his blower over. We go out, warm the car up, cut it off, let everything simmer in, and I fired that thing up, wrapped the throttle a few times, put it in gear, and just as I decked it, I felt it kind of wanted to rev up a little. You know, I hadn't drove it enough to know, but I knew the motor was up, like I put my foot on the throttle. I didn't, but I had my foot on the brake trying to hold it, so I mushed the trans brake to stop. And just as I decked it, I mean, it all happened just perfect together. I decked it and it just said, doom. I mean, completely cut off like I hit the kill switch. Well, luckily for that, it didn't backfire and kick the blower up, but it just shut off. So I'm sitting in the car, and we got the front end off of it. We're outside the shop, you know, running. I looked out there at Todd, and he's looking around the front end, and he said, motion for me, might as well get out. I said, I just kind of giggled. I said, what's wrong, Todd? He said, the fuel pump locked up on it. I said,
Oh,
how you know
boy.
that? He said, I can see it already starting to twist up here. He said it damn near started to spin it.
Wow.
So I get out, we roll it back in, get in there and pull it apart, and sure enough, the fuel pump is just dead galled. Okay. Throwed all that material through the fuel system. Well, naturally, you got to. So we took it all apart, took the fuel tank out of it, and all. Todd took it back. He's got a cleaning vat. He put the tank in it, washed it out, and cleaned all the lines, and he left. And I thought about it, and I've seen these things break. You know, these blower cars. I mean, I've seen them. They shut them off on the other end and throws rods out of them. I just got back, and especially with the sponsors stuff I have right now, I appreciate what SoCal is doing, and Junior Michael and them, 200%. But to run that car next year the way I want to run, I would have probably needed minimum another $100,000. Well, I didn't foresee that happening. Okay,
Yeah.
My sponsors have committed to next year. We're going again next year. Gonna be a little different. It'd be a nitrous car. We can't say that, but I will be in a different body style next year myself. I'll still keep this car, but we will be in a different body style, and we're gonna run nitrous. Hopefully NHRA keeps the rules where we can run right, and not we'll run wherever we got to run. You know, to try to be competitive. You know, and win races.
Have you noticed, I mean, you've raced all over the world, you've been in Pro Mod forever, and obviously Pro Stock as well. Have you noticed that in both of those classes now, it is primarily new body style Camaros?
Right.
As far as a driver, I'm sure you know, that probably doesn't bother you that much. Do you think it's detrimental to the class, whether it be Pro Stock or Pro Mod, that it's almost to the point for some people that it's almost like watching a NASCAR race? It's all the same. And then I don't know if you saw Craig Sullivan's new car that he debuted last week, that 49 Merc, and you've been around long enough to remember when the cars were really, you know,
Right.
Everybody named their cars and everything had personalities. Have we gotten to the point that to be on a equal playing field, everybody almost has to go, at least at the NHRA level, everybody kind of has to go with something like a new body style Camaro?
Absolutely. That's the whole problem. And Pro Modified, I don't care. You know, I've talked with NHRA and whatever it is back and forth, and they want to come up, well, the demographics and the younger people want to see the newer cars and all that. I think that's bull crap. You know, I think people that enjoy Pro Modified enjoy, whether it's new or old. I would think 70% of them enjoy the old ones better. Okay, that's what Pro Modified originated from. And when you take, usually, whether it's a movie or what you do, when you re-show it and you try to make it more up to date, it's never as good as the original one.
Exactly.
Don't matter what it is. I mean,
I could
whether
not
you're
agree
racing
more.
or it's a movie, it's the same thing. So why fix something that ain't broke when you had all these cars coming, all these fans enjoying it? You know, I actually sat down and I called Josh Peterson and Ned, asked them if they'd stop by my trailer at Topeka, Kansas, and I think it was in 18 is when I had the turbo car. And I called them on Thursday morning, and I asked Josh, Josh, are you here? He said, no, I'm getting off a plane here in I think it was Kansas City, wherever they fly into, you know, which is about an hour drive. He said, I'll be there in an hour or so. I said, would you stop by my trailer? I want to talk to you. He said, sure. So when he come in, him and Ned must have flew in kind of together, so they went the same. They come right out of the tunnel. I saw them, and they come straight to my trailer. So both of them come in, and we talked there a minute, and I had the Mustang sitting out there. We're looking out the door of my trailer and standing inside, and the Mustang was standing there, and Belushi's new model Camaro was sitting, and we were facing each other. And I pointed out the door, and I said, you see that car? And he kind of looked, they didn't know what I was getting at. I said, you see that car? And yeah. I said, I'll tell you what I'll do, which they're not going to bet with a racer. I said, I'll bet you. I think I told him at the time, I said, I'll put up $10,000 or whatever. It might have been 20. I told him. I said, I'll put up, let's just say it was 20,000 to 5,000. That when we get to Gainesville next year, 13 out of 16 cars will be that car right there, that Camaro. Oh, you think? I said, well, we're already at 8 or 9. And I said, I know, just what I know is being built, I know of 3 more. I said, they're going to be there.
Yeah.
I said, this whole class is going to consist of new, it's going to be like Pro Stock. They're all going to be the same bodies, new models. I said, guys, I'm just asking you, what can we do to stop this, And they talked and this and that, and so they left. So then we had a discussion over the Belushi's car there. They let the line come loose and throw the run out. And then I went tuning my car there at Topeka. Brad Personette was. Well, he'd forgot to put the right hex file in the program. He took it over from Petty, and somehow, I don't know, I'm not saying anything about anybody, it kind of forgot to do. So NHRA looked at my car Friday night, and I was qualified, okay. Well, they come and said, Dad, I said, what's the deal? They said, I don't know, we'll let you know in the morning. I said, okay. Well, luckily I had my nitrous car with me. So I waited, and we were supposed to run around, I think it was 11:30 the next morning, okay. So at 10 o'clock, we were sitting down there still, and they ain't come to tell me, am I running this car? Am I throwed out with this car? What am I doing? So at about 10 after 10 or so, I finally went to the trailer there at Topeka. And I sat down, luckily Ned and I think Jacob was there, and Tim White, maybe there's 2 or 3 of them down there. So we went in the lounge and talked there a minute, and I said, guys, what are we doing? I said, am I in or out, or what's going on? They said, no, you're okay, you're all right with it. I know what they were probably looking for. They probably went through the data to see if we was running traction control. Once they figured out that wasn't a deal, they knew it was a mistake, and they said, okay, your runs are out, but you can run it. I thought, man, it's hot today and all this. And so we talked there a minute, and naturally I was disgusted because we didn't do anything wrong, but we got our runs thrown out. So Ned spoke up to him, and he said, hey, you know what we talked about the other day about the body style? I said, yeah. And he said, well, we talked about that. And he said, what would you build if you didn't have that? And what would you build? I thought a few seconds. I said, yeah, I don't know. I've had a 69 Camaro. I said, probably I'd build a 69 Camaro. And he jumped right up. He said, well, that's the reason we think if we done that, it'll just be all 69 Camaros. So I looked at him. I didn't even stutter. I said, Ned, and I ain't being smart-mouthed. I said, Ned, that's where you don't know exactly what you're saying. And he just sat there a second, and I said, here's what I'm saying. A 69 Camaro is no more aerodynamic than that 67 Mustang I had. A 69 Camaro would be like Pete Farber's Bird. I named off 4 or 5. I said a 69 Camaro wouldn't be no worse than Jim Whiteley's Chevelle he wants to run. I said all these cars would fall in basically damn near the same aerodynamic program.
Yeah, like Bowman had that Chevelle or whatever it was.
So I said, that's where you're not thinking right. That's what we're up against here. And they realized it, and everything shut up, and everything was good, and we went on. But I was so pissed they threw them runs out. I said, I'll just run my Camaro. So I go down there, and I warm it up. Jacob said, I'll be down in a minute and take it in. I said, okay. So we go back. I get that car out, warm it up, getting ready to, for it to run. Jacob comes down there. He said, well, I need to look at the file in the ECU. I said, sure. So we go inside, and I give him a file out of it. And he said, well, that's the wrong hex file. I said, no, it ain't. I said, hex file I've been running. Well, that ain't legal. I said, what do you mean it ain't legal? Well, that was not legal. You got to run this one. I said, Jacob, he said, oh, we done that this winter. So we got Graham at EFI on the phone, on the speakerphone. And Graham sat right there on the speakerphone and said, no, we talked about it over the winter, Jacob. And you said that thing was so out of date that it couldn't run traction control and you wasn't going to worry about it. So it was, as far as we knew, it was legal. Nobody said it wouldn't. So then he kept saying it's out. I said, well, Jacob, how did this car run 4 races, I think, this year?
I remember that.
Me with this thing. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, I tuned Belushi first year. I said, he run Gainesville, Charlotte, wherever else. And I said, then I run this car at Virginia. I said, I know we've run 4 races with this red box, EFI, with this hex file. And nobody said a word about it. And he just said, oh man. So I said, well, Jacob, it's your doing. You're the tech guy. So now you want to throw me out in the middle of a race because I got the wrong X file. It's the same file I've been running since I was the first one to ever run EFI on a nitrous car. Back around, whatever it was, 11, 12, somewhere in there. But anyway, they wouldn't let me run it. Said, no, you can run your turbo car. It's not throwed out. It's just those runs are. I said, to hell with it. So I told Brad, I said, Brad, I ain't running nothing. He said, well, I said, heck with it. The hell with it. I said, Dave, I am not running. I loaded all my cars up. We run Belushi's. And I didn't run nothing up there. I could have run anything, but I just said, if they're this bad about not wanting me to race, then I don't want to race. And that's what happened up there, deal. I've just had instances with NHRA that really shouldn't have happened. They should have said, okay, this X file you've run forever, whatever it's run, you can run it here, but we got to do something for the next race. Okay, there's no traction control to be used in it, so what are you looking for?
Yeah.
It's all outdated stuff, y'all call it, but I'm an old school guy. I've never run a grid. I'll still run a 7531 box in my car. It's in that car right there right now. And people laugh and look at that thing, and even Bickle and them when they build it. Everybody said, why don't you run a grid? I said, well, if you ain't going to run traction control, why I need a grid? I said, all that box is doing is firing the coil for me. Everything else is through my ECU, my timing curves, everything. I said, if you ain't running traction control, why you need to run a grid? So anyway, that's my thought about the grid, but that's kind of what's happened, through some of the stuff, with me and NHRA and blah, blah, blah. But the blower car, the bottom line is on the blower car here, I made the call. I want to run that thing bad. But financially, I can't do it. And I'm not going to go back to my sponsors and ask for more money. I don't do that. So I'm going back to the nitrous car that I won all my championships with. I'm probably going to be the fastest nitrous car out there, still quarter-mile racing. Somebody might outrun me 100 or something every now and then, but I'm going to be right there top of the line with a nitrous car. And that's all I can do. It's up to NHRA to keep me competitive, just like it would if it was a blower car, turbo car. So they got to get these rules right, and hopefully they will. And we can all get back and have some arguments and some good racing and some conflicts. And when me and Troy had it going on and Danny Rowe back in, man, we had interest in the class. We were getting on each other on the other end, and I know I made some calls. I said, I'll burn that snowball down. I'm talking about the transmission in that turbo car and all that. We had some good times. Me and Troy are good friends right now. If he comes to the racetrack, he stops by my trailer and sees me. You can have, and it ain't we wasn't serious when we was racing, and get pissed off, but you can do that and still be friends. And do this deal,
Well, and that brings up an interesting topic that I was thinking about this morning on my drive over here. And I've had this conversation privately with some friends. Yeah, obviously, you've been around drag racing longer than I have, but does it seem like drag racing is getting soft to you? Like everybody wants to be everybody's buddy, and you don't have that. like when I was a kid, it was Pat and Tony. And you never could tell if they literally wanted to kill each other at the top end after running like a pro street run or something like that. And now I notice everybody wants to hug it out. Nobody wants to offend anybody. Have we, as a sport, whether it's pro stock or pro mod or whatever it is, even a few years ago in pro stock, you had Greg and Erica taking jabs at each other and things like that. And now it seems like everybody has kind of backed off of that.
Yeah, I don't know what they're afraid of. Afraid their sponsor might take offense, this and that. Well, that's part of drag racing. That's part of whatever sport you in. Football, do you not see them getting a fight there or getting mad? Or baseball, they run out to the pitcher and get mad, And, you got, look at NASCAR. Them guys get out every now and then and get swinging at each other and mad, But the drag racing guys, and I'm mainly talking to pro stock and pro mod, because that's the two classes I've run. Back in the day, me, Glidden, Warren Johnson, Ronnie Sox, Lee Edwards. I mean, we had our battles. We had our damn near throwdown cussing out each other, you know, and I mean, we've got out on the other end, I know, and just been so mad we was ready to just flat go at it, and we go to that starting line, we may burn the other one down or do whatever we had to do to get mad. Back in the day, Buster, you know, the starter turned the tree on. It wasn't on automatic. So you didn't know when it's coming on. Well, you go up there and play a game with somebody, he is either going to be dead early or dead late. Once in a while, he'd be normal, but you had that rivalry going, and you'd piss him off, so then he'd do something different. So it kind of helped maybe the underdog once in a while, you know, whatever it done, but it made it different, and it had the fans looking to see, well, what's Ricky and Bob going to do this time? What's Ricky and Warren going to do this time? Or what's, you know, me and Sox had a ton of match races. I match raced Joe Lapone and Grumpy Jenkins' car years ago. I mean, I've had a lot of fun match racing and having arguments and stuff like that. And that's, I mean, knock on wood, we're not the cars that go out there and just blow up, turn over, do all that stuff like funny cars. That's excitement for people. Our cars, if we don't bring that to the starting line with us, we don't have that excitement for the people. So I don't know why everybody wants to go up there and just, like you say, just, because if you go up there and have a little, then they want to go around to the pits and get all the buddies together and say, well, he's a bad guy. He just races like that. He does it. Oh, are you kidding me? Dale Earnhardt running around behind you. He didn't have to touch you. He's scared you'd wreck sooner or later because he's riding on your bumper. You was watching him more than you was a racetrack.
You were concentrating more on your opponent than yourself.
Yeah, and I've won a lot of races through my career before I ever left the trailer. And not just me. There's people just come up and just laugh and tell me about it. They said, man, he was beat before he ever left the trailer. He just falls right in that game, or they do this or do that. That's part of the deal that fans want to go see what's going on. Right now, we're almost like a bunch of super gas cars, do a burnout, stage up and go.
Would it be more interesting if we got rid of auto start again and actually had a starter flipping the switch? And
it definitely make it interesting.
Especially with...
Because you see that in Top Fuel and Funny Car, I think he still does that. Because they want him to, just in case something goes wrong, he can wait a little bit, you know. And you see sometimes some long lights over there. I watch it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking, man, they sat there for a long time before he turned them loose. And I don't think he's doing it on purpose, but it's great, you know. I think it's great. You know, I got no reason to, you know, not to turn it back to something. That way you go up there, you don't know in 2/10 or 3/10 of 3 years going to come on for sure.
What do we need to do to get more people interested? I mean, it used to be the entertainment value of drag racing. I grew up in an area where you had Broadway Bob was putting on shows at Great Lakes Dragway, and you had a lot of entertainment value, and a lot of it was the rivalries. You had that was your guy, just like you did in NASCAR in the 70s and 80s. That was your guy, or, you know, that was your girl, whatever. You're riding with that driver and that car. We don't have, I see that now in the no prep street outlaw type of stuff, but I don't see that in NHRA. I don't see that in NMCA. I don't see that other places. So how do we get the entertainment value back without obviously making it more difficult on the drivers? Like for you and Chad being a 2-car team, we don't want to make it more difficult or more costly, right. But how do we bring back entertainment value to get asses in the seats?
Well, it's just like you said, look at the street outlaw thing. And I'm not throwing off on them guys.
Oh, my audience already knows how I feel about
well,
that.
I know a lot of, I mean, I know a lot of them, not personally, but I've seen them race. I've seen them try to run with us. I've run with them back in the days, or they've been around. Those guys can't qualify where we race, period. And I'll say that to them, anybody to their face. They can't come and even qualify in Pro Modified. But they can go over there and pack the stands more than NHRA can with a national meet. It's crazy. I've been watching it. But what that's all about is the TV show and Discovery Channel.
Yep.
Well, people like to see door cars.
Absolutely.
They like to see nitrous cars, blower cars, turbo cars. They like to see that. NHRA has got the perfect class right now to compete with that, and they won't show it on Sunday with a regular program. That's, to me, is where they're losing their value. There's nothing wrong with fuel and Top Fuel. Nothing. Nothing wrong with Pro Stock and the bikes. But you need to figure out how to bring at least the semifinals and finals of Pro Modified in on Sunday. Our TV show showing 3 and 4 weeks later is nothing, because everybody's already watched it on NHRA TV live. You know, that's one good thing we have for our sponsors. It is live. You know, if you're on that internet thing, you know, it's social media. But for TV, if those guys in Street Outlaw were only on social media, only on that internet, they absolutely would not have the people in the stands they got now. The reason they got the people in the stands they got now is because they see them people on TV and they want to go meet you on TV.
Yep.
I know, because I've been through it when I was on TV a lot back in the day. People want to come and see me. I ain't no different than you or anybody else. I put my clothes on, breeches on one leg at a time. I don't jump in them with both legs. I do just like a normal person. But they think when they see me on TV, I'm something special. So they want to come and see me. And that's what NHRA's got to get, is they want to come and see these Pro Modified drivers. And if they would do something to get us, we need at least the semifinals and finals on there. Maybe not first round, maybe get all 3 rounds. But they got to figure out a way to throw us in. When they're over here interviewing whoever, Joe Blow, while this guy's running, or they take 30 seconds or a minute to go over here and interview this guy and that guy and that guy, people watching racing are not interested in hearing what I got to say, John Forster got to say. They ain't interested in it. They might want to hear it 1 out of 10 times, okay? I'm not saying not totally, but they don't want to hear that crap. They want to see the racing going on. So quit them interview crap out and put some Pro Modified in there on Sunday and show the people something, so they want to come to the racetrack and meet Rickie Smith or Stevie Fast or whoever. You know, they want to meet these guys. That's what draws the people in the stands. They want to see somebody that they saw on TV.
Did NHRA drop the ball when they took over Pro Mod from RPM?
Absolutely.
I mean,
I ain't saying they dropped the ball. Here's what they done. They took over. We were having 32 car fields, turning cars away.
Yeah.
You even had to be so many points to get in the thing. I went through that. The first couple of races they went, even though I supplied it all, they come up with this points thing, and it come off of some of the sportsman stuff and this and that. I had to wait sometimes to the third session. There was like six different deals you had to wait on.
Yeah, the grade points.
Yeah, I was a lot of times when it started, I was like 3rd or 4th in the grade points. I'm sitting there watching this thing, trying to get in it, and I was sitting there doing it. So we all had to do it to get in eventually. But what I'm saying is they took that out. They just opened the door for anybody to come in. So you think, oh man, this thing's gonna be flooded, and that's what they thought.
Yeah.
But the same time they done that, they added about $13,000 to $15,000 worth of safety stuff to these cars. Well, they're not going. Keith Haney's crowd, it runs the Midwest, PDRA crowd, the Northwest Pro Mod. Those type of people are not going to come in and put 15 pounds in their car, spend that kind of money to come in. Let's say they want to run 2 or 3 races a year.
Yep.
So if you come down here, you got the PDL crowd wants to come in. You got 3 or 4 cars you pick from. You go out west or in the Mid-East, you lose them too, but you pick up 3 or 4 out of Keysdale. They want to come and run. You can't do that no more. They're not going to spend that money to do that, And the safety stuff that they put on these cars. I mean, I know what we done. They put electric switches on them. It done this and that. Where they cut it. Well, we had all that on there. We had the switch on the back when you went through the finish line. When you went by that the deal down there.
Yeah. The auto shut
the
off.
The auto thing.
Whatever,
it cut the car off. If you hadn't cut it off, it worked off of air. It cut it off. So there's your safety thing. The tunnel they put in these things. Stupid amount of money they took. I know because I get a decent deal out of Bickle and them, but I took my car up there before I picked this new one up, my other car. When I was picking this one up, Chad took all the wiring, the lines all off the frame rails, all that stuff, because you got to go in there and weld it. If you do it right, now you can book it up and pop rivet it in and do all that crap, but I owned the thing done right with Zeus's and tab. We done all that up there. Chad done a lot of the work, taking that stuff off, putting it back on. I still, when I left there, it cost me $13,200 to get my car updated for NHRA next year. Are you kidding me?
So essentially, they're pricing people out.
Yeah, in a way. And the price is one thing, but just all the bullshit, like all that tunnel, and all they made us put in, that is totally useless. Totally useless. Because what they done it for, somebody, a 400 transmission blew up or something like that, and it sprayed oil all in the car. I've been 47 years out here. I've been running Lincos a long time. We've always had a blanket on them from the time I ever remember. We had a blanket on the Linco. A 400 transmission is aluminum case. I don't care what kind of spec it's got, what kind of SFI stickers on it, or who put it on it. Why didn't you have a blanket on it?
Mm-hmm.
All they had to do was spend $500-600, put a blanket on the 400 transmissions. We're all ready to go. But they made us put all that tunnel in. Now it surrounds all the heat in the car. It's so hot. You're trying to get stuff cooled down between rounds. It's something that absolutely did not have to happen. And all this stuff that they done, if they just left what we had alone, we had rules. We had everything fine. If they'd left that alone, they'd probably got some more cars. And then when they come out with the automatic shifter rule, done away with that this year, that just really killed it. That even killed me bringing some cars in. So that, what people say out here, oh man, if you can't shift these cars, blah, blah, blah. Well, let me tell you something. If a guy will take a lie detector test, I don't care who's driving these cars. Me, Stevie, whoever. I mean, Jim, whoever wants to say. If you'll take that lie detector test with me and sit there and say that it's safer shifting or auto shift, and you say it's safer shifting, you will see they are flat line. They are flat line. That car is absolutely safer on auto shift than it is shifted. Because there's so much, these cars are so fast trying to get to the 330 and the eighth mile. If you ain't dead on top of what's going on, and that's what I proved to Jonathan after he knocked the cones over a couple of times at the 1,000 foot. Luckily, he didn't wreck the car. And I stressed to him, I said, Jonathan, if this car ain't within 1 foot of the groove or less when you go by the 8th mile, cut it off. You're not gonna, that thing, when you go past 900 feet or whatever and got wheel in it and it's plowing, you can bet that car's gonna spin out on you before you get to the finish line. It's not a pro stock car. And the second time he done it, that's the last time he done it. And Bo Button about done it, and I straightened. Then after he about knocked the cones over at the finish line, the second time he went down, he quit doing it. But I said, guys, these cars got no spoiler on them, got no wicker bill on them, 1/4 of an inch. Pro stock's got 3/4. I said, we don't have no downforce on these cars. And when they turn loose down there, they're powerful enough, they'll blow the tires off at 1,000 feet, where a pro stock car won't hardly. I said, you can't do that. So it's just, stuff like that is where the automatic shifter is so important, because it's staying on that same pull. Mm-hmm. It's no different than a top fuel funny car. The driver is the one that's got to get off the throttle. It ain't about where it shifts. If that thing's over here against the wall, you need to quit. You don't need to, because what's happened, we lost 2 cars. We actually lost 3 at the very first race of the season at Gainesville. And if the truth's known, it's because of the shifting rule. Scrubs and Brandon Pez. Both of them out of the groove, probably 90% of the time, or let's say 80% of the time, they made that run. They'd get it back.
Yeah.
But now you're out of the groove, you're shifting, and when you shift, you may jerk the wheel, or you may do this, or you're focused more on that shift light than you are exactly where you at on the track. And once you get just a 1/10 behind driving these cars, you're done. So those cars probably wouldn't have wrecked if it hadn't been. And I've talked to both of them. They probably wouldn't have wrecked if they'd have had the automatic shift, because they'd either realized they were way too far over and they'd quit, or they'd have got it back quicker than they did. And that's the problem with these cars. You can manhandle these things a little bit to 400 feet. You can jerk them back in the groove and do something with them. After that, you better start finessing them pretty good. So you've got to be within the first 2 seconds of that run so alert of what's happening in these cars. And that's what I've told Jonathan and Bo, and I explained to him. You've got to be ahead of the car. And what I'm saying be ahead of the car is you got to feel it in your butt. That car sometimes ain't going yet, but you know in your butt it's fixing to go. You feel it starting to pull one way or the other. And you better be ready to correct it, or already starting to correct it as it's starting to do something. But if you're focusing on that shift light, you ain't feeling that in your butt. So it's all about being able, a driver's got to feel what's going on in his butt as much as he has looking at the racetrack. Because a lot of times you'll feel it here before you actually see it there. And that's what's so important about these cars is if you don't stay ahead of them driving, you're either going to abort the run or you're going to wreck the damn thing.
Now, you obviously started with Pro Stock. What was your first year running at a professional level? How long ago was that?
How old are you?
I was born in '76, so I'll be 45 this year.
Well, I was running professional for you, or winning championships damn near before you was born.
So, and that was in Pro Stock, correct?
No, it's modified. It was super modified.
Okay.
Super modified. I started racing in '74. I started basically what I would call running the circuit in '75, and we got into this super modified, which was built in the IHRA as a heads up, no breakout. It was a miniature Pro Stock class is what they were trying to do for the guys that couldn't afford to run Pro Stock. It was a heads up, no breakout, single 4-barrel, type deal. Mm-hmm. And I had a Camaro, and the boy around here at home had a Camaro, and I got to driving his some. And his dad was Keith Fowler, which was a country music promoter right here in King that booked Conway Twitty, Loretta. He'd done all the bookings in the Coliseums. He would go to the Coliseums and book shows for them, okay? So Keith had Loretta, Conway. Keith wanted to actually help bring Alabama out of Myrtle Beach. I think he actually bought the buses and rented it to them so they could get started. Mm-hmm. So Keith had, like I say, Oak Ridge Boys, Loretta Lynn, Conway Twitty. He had a lot of the major players back in the day. And that's the reason that was the name of his business, Country Shindig. And that's what was on that Maverick, was Country Shindig. And then when that's where I started was then. And Jack Roush and Wayne Gap built the car. That thing was built by Jack Roush and Wayne Gap. We come out with that car. We missed the first race. We come out with it. We ended up winning. We had a lot of trouble breaking rear ends and all because Jack was trying to run the NASCAR gears in the back, and they wouldn't stand the drag race torque. So we finally got all that straightened out, but we ended up winning the championship the first year with it. Pretty much dominated it after we got. I think I may be off a little bit here, but back then we had to run national meets and points meets to win championships. Well, that was about anywhere 15 to 18 races a year, okay?
Okay.
So I think the first year I probably won, and this is not no joke. It's in a book. Ford had a book. It's at my house, but anyway, they had a big hard book out, and I got all that history stuff for Ford. But let's say we had 18 races. I think I won like 13 of them. Okay. And the next year, let's say they had 18. I think I won all of them but 2. And we had Herb McCandless, which had Mopar plumb cast a cylinder head for him to run this class. That's how Bob Mopar was getting in parts. Now, they cast a cylinder head for him because you couldn't port and polish the heads. They done a cylinder head for him. We had Tommy down at Gene Fulton's. They had a Camaro, 69 I think or 8. They run that class with us. You had John Bray up in Virginia, which was a big engine building place at the time, Braves Automotive. He had a car, and he was badass. He had a lot of cars in that class, but we had some major players, and it wasn't like I just run over a bunch of sportsman guys. We had some major players in that deal, and I just dominated the class, and damn if IHRA didn't do away with it.
So in the, let's say, 45, 46 years that you've been at the professional level, whether it was IHRA, NHRA, or even, PDRA, Midwest, I mean, you've pretty much raced everything that there is to race. Who would you say you enjoyed racing against the most in all of your years of racing, that you looked forward to racing, maybe because you were always wanted to, obviously you always want to beat everybody, but somebody who you really enjoyed racing against?
Well, in my main area, I guess you would say, I've been lucky enough to be out here 47 years doing this, 41 for 11. I've got to race a lot of legends, and people that are going to be legends someday. But so you always kind of look back to maybe your middle age or younger age deal to do that, and the guy that, it's hard to say one guy. There was probably three that I enjoyed racing. Man, we had our arguments. We had our starting line games. We just had throw down, knock down times drag racing. But it was Bob Glidden, Ronnie Socks, and Warren Johnson.
That's a hell of a trio right there.
Right.
For anybody who knows anything about drag racing, that's I mean, literally you add yourself to that and you're looking at a Mount Rushmore of door cars at that point. Was there anybody in your 40 plus years, is there anybody that you just like, if you look at the sheet when you're done qualifying and you're going to be lining up against, is there just that one person they just can't stand, or over the last 40 years that you knew that it was just going to be, whether it was going to be a shit show or you just didn't like them so much that you didn't want to race them type of person? Was there anybody that stands out that you're like, oh, not this shit again?
I don't know if it would be one person. There's been several, like I say, between Glidden and Warren and Sox and Troy Coughlin, I mean, in my later years. And, you got Stevie now out there, and I mean, I can't say there's one person that I hated to run more than another one, There's probably 5 or 6 that, you hate to race because they're good racers.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as one better than, is Glidden worse than Warren, or Warren worse than Stevie, or blah, 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 back and forth. No, I don't look at probably the top 5 or 6 guys that I would speak of that I hate to race worse than the other one. Naturally, you hate to race a guy first round or the first 2 rounds that is capable of winning that race, you know. So there's not one that really sticks out.
If we talk about all of the drag racing since, let's say, from the 50s up until today, would you say that Rickie Smith is one of the top drivers, and excluding nitro stuff, I'm not talking about that, door car stuff, is Rickie Smith one of the top drivers in the history of our sport?
You've been listening to Scorched. Raw, real, and unfiltered. Join us next time when Damon scorches it all again. To find previous episodes, news, commentary, and event coverage, head to E3 Extreme. There is no one better.